Okay, in this video we will continue with phimosis. So clinical manifestation, forceful, that we have seen, right? So it leads to fibrosis and worsen the condition. Then ballooning of the prepuce during the act of maturation. So when they are passing urine, we will see that the prepuce will become like a balloon. It will be swollen. Okay, so treatment of choice for phimosis is circumcision. Local application of steroid ointment has been found to be helpful in some cases. Okay, so that is given to prevent inflammation, steroid ointment. Nursing care for circumcision, keep the area clean. Okay, do not perform the forceful retraction of the prepuce. After circumcision, care of the dressing should be done, and then you have allow the dressing to fall off by waiting and do not strip it away. Let it only fall and then you can change. Okay, allow adequate pain relief is given to the child. Actually children will have severe pain. Okay, so pain relief has to be kept in consideration. Next condition, paraphimosis, is defined as entrapment of tight prepuce behind the glans penis. So what happens, it gets too tightened. Okay, so that condition is called as paraphimosis. Clinical manifestation: once a tight prepuce is retracted behind the glans, it becomes swollen and cannot be replaced over the glans penis. Once when you push it back, again you cannot push it in the front, and that is painful. Okay, treatment: this is an emergency condition. The aim should be to replace the prepuce over the glans after reducing the edema. So we should be able to make it retractable. Okay, the edema should reduce. Cold compress or local injection of hyaluronidase in the prepuce may reduce swelling. Okay, so when we say injection, it is hyaluronidase can be given to reduce the swelling. Okay, next we will go to cryptorchidism. What is cryptorchidism? Undescended testis. So when the baby is actually forming, okay, we see that the testis will be in the abdomen. So at the time of birth, okay, the baby's testis should have descended into the scrotum. How we will know? You should perform physical examination. Touch the scrotum and see. So when you touch, if it is an empty sac, it means that the testis is not undescended. It is still in the abdomen. If it is still in the abdomen, that condition is called as cryptorchidism or undescended testis. Okay. So undescended testis are seen when the testis cannot be made to reach the bottom of the scrotum. Okay. You can see there in the diagram. Okay. And then so when this testis is also descended, you will see it will be like a bag like. Otherwise it will be just a empty bag. Okay, nothing. So undescended testes are seen when the testis cannot be made to reach the bottom of the scrotum. Short spermatic cord artery mechanically prevent the descent of the testis. It is a spermatic cord artery which is preventing the descent of the testis below the external inguinal ring. The testis may be small or ill-formed and relatively immobile. Okay, so it can be small or it can be ill-formed, not well-formed, and it can be relatively immobile. Okay, undescended testes are at the higher temperature than the scrotal temperature. So when you see if it is not descended, usually it will have higher temperature than the scrotum. Okay, if it is in the scrotum. Okay, then therefore the sperm forming cells are damaged because it is in the abdomen. What happens? The temperature is more, then the sperm forming becomes destructed. If both testes are undescended, sterility occurs. So when you see that both the testes are not descended, then it leads to sterility. Why? Because of the temperature, sperm forming cells die. Okay, physical examination: inguinalo-scrotal region is palpated for feeling the testis. As I told you, a squatting test is done and the range of the motion of the testis is absorbed. Okay, so if it is empty, then you will get to know. Okay, and then complication: atrophy of testis, that is absence of testis. Then sterility, it getting destructed of the testis, sterility, torsion, strangulation hernia, malignancy, psychological disturbances. These are the few complications that the baby can undergo. Okay, and then management: the surgery is done after 1 year of age. That is because the child should have adequate weight. Then some surgeons prefer to do during school age. Okay, orchidoplexy is the surgery that is done, mobilization of the testis into the scrotum, of removing hernia and additions. If there is any hernia or additions, that has to be removed, and then these testes has to be brought into the scrotum. This surgical repair may prevent the above mentioned complication. When orchidoplexy is done, automatically it prevents the further complications in the child. When the testes are absent, a celastic prosthesis can be inserted at 8 to 10 years of age to overcome emotional problem. Sometimes if there is no testes at all, then artificially they can put some celastic prosthesis, so it will be bulged. Okay, so it prevents emotional disturbance, but the child still will be infertile when the child becomes an adult. Post-operative care. After the surgery, the traction between the scrotum and thigh is maintained with precaution. So it should not compress. So they will separate by putting a traction. The thighs, okay, that will make sure it is separated. The extra care should be taken not to disturb this traction at least for a week. For a week they should not disturb it. The child should be advised rest for the 7 days and to avoid strenuous exercises. That the child should be given 7 days rest and the child should avoid strenuous exercises. Bicycle riding should be avoided for 3 months. Parental support must be given to relieve the anxiety. Okay, so that is with the cryptorchidism. Next condition we will go to polycystic kidney. So what do you mean by polycystic kidney? So the infantile form of polycystic kidney is transmitted as an autosomal recessive disorder. It is caused by autosomal recessive disorder. The risk of the parents having another affected child is 1 in 4. For above 4 children, 1 child gets affected. Causes mainly it is hereditary. Then you have signs and symptoms. It is a bilateral masses. Both the side you will see that. You can see polycystic kidney in the diagram as it is given. Hypertension, cardiac failure, uremia, portal hypertension, abnormal distension. Assessment. How do we assess? Okay, as we know, history collection. Okay, and then physical examination, which includes abdominal distension on palpation. When you palpate, you will see that the abdomen will be distended. Both kidneys are generally found to be enlarged. Kidney will be enlarged. Okay, and then you see that hypertension is not infrequent. So the child will end up having hypertension. Severe growth disturbances may occur. Radiography reveals the enlarged. When you take the radiography X-ray, you can see enlarged kidney. Intravenous, urography shows decreased renal function in infants. Okay, laboratory functions may show variable hematuria, urine in the blood, blood in the urine, and then proteinuria. Okay, excessive protein that is found in the urine, and then a liver biopsy may be done in older children. Management, dialysis and renal transplantation only can be done because it is not able to do the functioning of the kidney. So nursing management, there is no specific treatment in older children. Steps are taken to control hypertension. Supportive and palliative measures may be used in treatment of chronic renal failure. Dialysis and renal transplantation becomes necessary. If recurrent esophageal bleeding occurs during adolescence, surgery may be necessary. Okay, so in all this condition, surgery has to be done. Okay. Okay, next we will see what are the sexual abnormalities. Okay, ambiguous genitalia, that is intermediate sex. Okay, so ambiguous genitalia in the newborn is the embarrassing both to the parents and the pediatrician. Ambiguous genitalia in a baby with XX female genotype is called female pseudohermaphrodism, and ambiguous genitalia in a baby with a XY male genotype is called male pseudohermaphrodism. Babies with both ovaries and testes are called hermaphrodites. In a female baby, they can be features of male. Okay, in a male baby, they can be features of female. In those conditions, we call that as female pseudo. In a male, if we have female, okay, it is called as female pseudo hermaphrodism. Or if in a girl, if there is male genes, okay, that we see, then we call that to be male pseudo hermaphrodism. But if baby has both ovaries and testes, then we call that to be true hermaphrodites. Okay, the symbol for male sex is arrow, and for female sex is positive, and for indeterminate sex is just the O. Okay, so clinical features: increased pigmentation of the scrotum will be there, and the areola indicates androgenital syndrome, and with excess ACTH, adenocortico hormone, okay, will be more increased. Okay, and then you have vomiting will be there, diarrhea or collapse indicates salt losing, variety of congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Okay, so you can see vomiting, you can see diarrhea because of the hormonal increase also that is found. Okay, diagnostic evaluation, history collection, physical examination, ultrasound, chromosomes analysis can be done, gonadal biopsy, take the gonads, okay, the from the testes, okay, and then you can send it for the biopsy, laparotomy, rectal examination, radiography studies, biochemical studies, all the blood tests can be done. Now, types of ambiguous genitalia. So what are the various types? As we have seen, female pseudo hermaphrodite, male pseudo hermaphrodite, and true hermaphrodite. Okay, so female pseudo hermaphrodites, we see here 46XX karyotype female with virilization, and those with urogenital sinus anomalies present with ambiguous genitalia are called female pseudo hermaphrodites. So 46 chromosomes, XX is actually female, right? Karyotype female with, but when we see with urogenital sinus anomaly present with ambiguous genitalia, unclear, okay, which is not of female reproductive system, then we consider that to be ambiguous genitalia. Then the condition is called as femo-pseudo hermaphrodite. The cause of virilization are maternal administration of androgens or progesterone drugs. When the mother is carrying, they should not take these drugs. Maternal virilizing tumors, when they have tumors, and excess production of androgens as in congenital adrenal hyperplasia. When there is, in the adrenal gland, okay, if there is a tumor, it can also produce lot of androgens, okay. So these can cause a condition female pseudo hermaphrodite. Next you have male pseudo hermaphrodites. So 46XY. Okay, so usually XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes. Okay, so here they are, XY is males, okay, XX is females. But in the female, when they have, apart from female reproductive system, ambiguous, not clear, okay, then we call that as female pseudo. And in the male with incomplete virilization and with or without the vagina and the uterus, if there is presence of vagina or not and the uterus is there, then they are called as male pseudo hermaphrodites. Okay, in female you have male, and in male if you have female, then we call the condition here in male is male pseudo hermaphrodites. The deficiency of the mellurium inhibitor factor lead to development of the uterus. Okay, so this factor, if it is not there, it leads to the development of uterus in the male children. Abnormalities of the penis and the urethra like hypospadiasis and micropenis also come in the differential diagnosis of male pseudo hermaphrodites. Okay, so if they have penis, okay, when they have penis, so in this what happens is, again they can end up having other conditions also like hypospadiasis and micropenis, very small. Okay, the normal length of penis in the newborn is 3.52 plus 0.5 cm. Okay, it can vary within 3.5 plus 0.7 centimeter. So when we say micropenis, the length of the penis will be very small. True hermaphrodites, when we say, they have ambiguous genitalia which is not very clear, palpable gonads and uterus both will be there. Karyotyping reveals excess XY or mosaic patterns. Both the chromosomes will be there, XX, XY or mosaic patterns will be there. Gonads are usually ovotestis and have variable consistency unlike testis. Okay, so gonadal biopsy and laparotomy may be done to confirm the biopsy. They have to do the biopsy, okay, laparotomy and biopsy in order to confirm the diagnosis. Okay, so that is about the types of ambiguous genitalia. Okay, so we'll stop with this video.